It's David L. Gray. Welcome in, and we are streaming live on YouTube, Facebook, X.com. Welcome in to the live show. It is Thursday. I usually live stream on Monday and Thursday. Didn't get a chance to come in on Monday because it was a holiday, Memorial Day. We went up, took a little 6-hour drive here from Germany up to Praha, Czech, or Prague, as the Americans tend to call it, but it's Praha, as it's properly pronounced. And I had a really good time there. Usually when we go to these cities, we do these like free tours, free walking tours, and we did one there Friday, I believe. Yeah, it's really interesting. It's about the ghost of Prague, and it's really interesting that there are a lot of intersections between these ghost stories in the Catholic Church. So I'm going to do a recording one day about some of these. Wow. Some really neat intersections that really, I don't know, can really be spun to really point us to our journey towards sanctification and holiness in traditions of the church. And so, Praha is, of course, famously known for the Hussite heresy. The Hussites who believe that during Mass, everyone should be able to have access to drinking wine. And the Mass should be said in the vernacular. So back in the 1300s or something like that, and this is even before Luther, the Hussites were on top of the liturgical reforms. So yeah, good time there. And so won't be any live streams either for the next couple weeks because I'll be back in the States. I'll be in Washington, D.C. doing my 2-week residency for the doctorate program that I'm in. So looking forward to being back in the States, but won't be any live streams there. Might have some other content, but no live streams for the next couple of weeks because I will be in D.C. at Catholic University of America. Kind of worried about going there. First of all, I'm looking forward to being back in the States. Of course, see my daughters, get a chance to go to Chick-fil-A. My pleasure. I was talking to someone today saying, Chick-fil-A isn't the same as it. Shut up. I don't want to hear that. Chick-fil-A is not how it used to be. I miss Chick-fil-A. So looking forward to getting some of that. But I'm kind of scared though, man. I always get these emails from Catholic University of America, usually on a Sunday or Monday, saying, there was some armed robbery near campus. It always says no members of the university were involved. There's always scary stuff like armed robbery, like guns and rifles and stuff like that. And it's not like I could just stay in my dorm room either. It's not at nighttime. Some of these robberies happen at 10 o'clock in the morning. What's going on in DC? The president's there. Are we supposed to be making America safer again? So, worried about that, man. That's what the heck? How's there just armed robberies just everywhere in DC? So that's pretty crazy. But I'll be back there, Catholic University of America, work on my doctorate. What else is new? I have an essay over at stdominicsmedia.com. Just wrote it today. Finally, I got a chance to respond to people who say the most ridiculous thing, that the Holy Eucharist can be consecrated outside of the Mass. They always say this when you talk about, Jesus, if the Novus Ordo must not be so bad if Jesus can visit it. And people say, that's not the standard. Jesus can be consecrated in the Black Mass at Chili's even. I don't know where to come from, but that's not true. The Holy Eucharist is preternatural to the Mass. The consecration of the Holy Eucharist in the Mass, you can no more say that the Holy Eucharist can be consecrated outside the Mass than you say that a human being can come to life outside of his life being developed inside of a placenta. The whole placenta thing is kind of necessary to human life in its development. Same with the Holy Eucharist. So it's weird. So I took about 3,000 words and put it in, overall on stdominicsmedia.com. So check it out if you want a resolution to that argument. You never see me arguing with Protestants. I don't do apologetics, because first of all, the reason why they're not Catholic is because they can't figure out why we call our priest father or Mary. That's not why people don't become Catholic. They become Catholic because they're not they're not really that bright, or they have some sort of deep-seated psychological issue like pride or something like that, some sort of pain from the church. It's never really a theological issue. That's always like a gloss. But I really don't have time for them either. I don't have time. It's just not my ministry to fix stupid. So I don't argue with Protestants. I tend not to respond to stupid questions, but I had a little bit of time. So check that out, stdomicsmedia.com. So I think that's all that's new. So today on the live stream, gotta get into the whole thing with I was really looking forward to this papacy because I thought it was going to be quiet and everybody was going to get back to doing what they're supposed to do. David L. Gray here. Yeah, I thought, we could live in a church where, Michael Lofton, who made a career out of being a papal defender, could get back to doing what he's good at. Theology, explaining Eastern Orthodox. I thought we could get back to a world where LifeSite News could get back to talking about life news and talking about the evils of abortion and anytime we end life outside of natural conception and natural death. I thought they could get back to that. I thought Dr. Taylor Marshall could get back to doing some scriptural exegesis and eisegesis. I thought Michael Matt to get back. Well, I take that back. I don't know what Michael Matt was ever doing. But I thought we could live in that world. But, I'm on the YouTube and, I see Michael Lofton is still doing the same thing. Call it a grift, call it a money grab, whatever it is. But he's still out here defending the Pope. I don't know if he's making up these attacks. I don't know if he's making a bigger deal out of them than they are, but it's like he's doing the same thing. He's saying that the trads or traditional type of Catholics are still attacking the Pope and he has to defend them. Why are we still doing this? Why is this still a thing? I mean, we spent over a decade doing this with Pope Francis. And you're telling me that we have to do it now with Pope Leo XIV? We're really doing this? When does it end? When does it stop? Then we learn over the last decade or so that it doesn't do anything helpful. No one's coming into the church either because people are attacking or people are defending. It's not evangelization. It's worse than apologetics. It's just, are we really going to do this again? We're going to spend the next 10, 20, 30 years. I don't know. Leo XIV is young. We're going to do this again? Again? It's hard for me to fathom. I got to show you a couple of videos from Anthony Stein, Taylor Marshall, Michael Matt. We're going to run through a couple of videos here. We're going to talk about this. I don't know if you ever heard of Anthony Stein. He's the guy from Return to Tradition. Return to Tradition, it's, I think when he first started off, it was just like an audio podcast, and you will see just an image of this like smoky image, like some like a Dick Tracy sort of image, a guy in a two-door or whatever you call those things, and I don't know if he had a cigar or something like that. So he just used to do the anti-Francis, get to a traditional Latin mass, save your soul, that whole Gnostic sort of genre, scaring people, trying to scare people out of the Novus Ordo, scare people out of believing in, what the church teaches, and sort of like the whole Protestant thing, discover your own truth, become your own Pope, because our Pope is bad, that type of thing. And then I think people started demanding that he let us see your face come out from behind the thumbnail. And so he dropped the thumbnail, and we saw what he was into, what he looked like, his background. And everybody said, "Go back, bring back the thumbnail. We don't want to see you." And but his whole thing is that he reads news articles on camera in response to them, and he's very angry when he responds to them. I don't think he never seen a guy laugh or smile, right, or joke. So he just sits there and he reads the news, usually from LifeSite News. So that's this, but he has a lot of subs. I guess people like angry people reading the news. I didn't know that was a thing. Maybe I should be angry and read the news. All right. But yeah, so let's we have to talk about this because this is crazy, you guys. This is really psychotic, I think. So check this one out.
Everything you're going to see in today's story, Pope Francis did first. He did it exactly the same way, and when he did, he was rightly excoriated for it. He was shredded for it. There is a reasonable, entirely understandable desire among Catholics right now to take a wait-and-see approach with Pope Leo XIV. I had a negative reaction to him when he first emerged on the loggia. I had a very gut-feeling sense of, frankly, doom.
So we're doing this. I guess we are doing this. So Anthony Stein is like, when Pope Francis came out on a loggia the day before, there was thunder or some sort of lightning had struck the Vatican, and people post election, post loggia were saying, "Man, I feel this papacy, man, of Francis. I felt kind of when he came out of loggia, I first saw him, I felt an uneasy feeling." Nobody said that about Leo XIV. Everybody liked that he had traditional name. He came out in traditional garb. Everybody had good vibes, right? But not Anthony Stein. Anthony Stein's like, no. From the very moment he came out of loggia as well, I got the heebie-jeebies. My skin started crawling. I got shingles. I got a weird tingle on my leg. All right, so we're doing this.
Couldn't explain it, but it reminded me of what people said when they saw Pope Francis. However, I took a break, went and did things with family, prayed a full rosary with my wife, and had a good conversation with a friend, and decided to take a wait-and-see approach. But I was not terribly good at putting on the happy face that many of you have put on. You could generally tell that I was uneasy with him, but I gave him a chance. Yeah. I warned people, if there was any kind of deception going on, or if there was, everything you're going to see in today's story, Pope Francis.
Okay, I think that was the end of the clip. I think that was kind of where he tailed off at. And so from there, Anthony Stein goes into like a litany of things, everything that Leo XIV has done that was kind of wacky and weird. And basically we have a Francis 2.0 at this point. And Anthony Stein, he just kind of knew it from the start when he came out on loggia. And we could go down a litany of issues. I think some of them are very suspect. I'll be honest with you. I won't even hold you on that. I'm not going to lie to you. It's been a couple weeks since the papacy of Leo XIV, and some things don't sit right, right? Some things do seem kind of weird, but I mean, what are we supposed to say? What are you supposed to say? I mean, here's a story from his own brother. There was an interview with his brother, and his brother said in this interview, I hope you can see it here. And it says his brother, John Prevost, described his brother as being very concerned for the poor and those who don't have a voice. His own brother said he expects him to be a second Pope Francis, his own brother. So when I read this after the election, I said, okay. If his brother is very conservative, his brother knows that calling somebody the second Francis knows that's not a compliment, sir. And his brother knows that. But his brother said that he's going to be the second Francis. He says he's not going to be really far left, and he's not going to be the really far righty at it. Kind of right down the middle. Okay, that's sounds maybe Catholic. When I read that, I was like, okay, but what can you do? So what if he's the next second Francis? It's really just a confirmation that what I've been saying to me, you've been saying for years, that the church has to imitate the life of Christ. And to imitate the life of Christ, you have to go through your passion. You have to be betrayed. You have to have some sellouts. The world has to try to kill you. And we've been saying that we're far beyond the age of the church when apostles were called. We're far beyond the teaching, preaching, and healing ministry. Not teaching. The age of the miracles. We're far beyond that. Now we're into the passion. We're adding the passion we don't really know. But if we're in a passion, we're in a passion. And if we have popes who are Judases, fine. That's just a confirmation that we are where we thought we were. So if his brother is right, that Leo XIV is going to be a second Francis, and his brother should know, whatever. All right? Whatever. So when we hear people like Anthony Stein go through the litany of things, which I think some are valid, Pope Leo XIV saying that Pope Francis is in heaven right now, and that he's praying for us. Yeah, it's kind of confusing. Because we're like, what? What? Was there like a canonization process we missed somewhere? Yeah, he may have received extreme unction and apostolic blessing at the moment of death. Maybe some people say that he didn't. He died too fast. But what if he did? But how do we know that he was in a state of grace when he received that, to know that he would have went straight to heaven? There's no way for us to know that. So yeah, it's kind of weird to hear a pope say something this off, that he knows that Francis is in heaven, that he's praying for us. And we're like, what? He's praying for what? The church in China that he sold out? What is he praying for exactly, Francis? But if he's not praying for the Catholics in China that he sold out, what is he praying for? So we're just a little bit confused about it. We're like, okay, all right, maybe it's just how, Catholic priests say, yeah, your loved one is in heaven now. They have wings like an angel. Okay. That's kind of trendy. It's kind of nice to say, okay, we'll let that pass. Then he points another woman to the head of a curie office of the curie, another nun. And so he follows in what Francis was doing there. And we say, well, okay, maybe Francis had actually appointed this woman, and she had already been selected, and maybe Leo XIV had just seen it through. Okay, well, we'll let that slide too. Okay, Pope Francis is in heaven with wings. He's appointed another nun to the Roman Curia. Then he meets with all these monks and these Buddhists and these Jews and all these other different people, and it seems like he's doing the whole Vatican II ecumenism thing. Okay, he is a Vatican II guy. He's into the synodality. Okay, well, so that's three things. We'll let all that go. Okay. Then he appoints this Monsignor Renzo Peguerano to head the Pontifical Academy for Life, and this guy is out here promoting contraception, homosexuality. Just a bunch of another just weird appointment to a high office, an office that's supposed to advocate for life in the church. And this guy, he advocates for death, either through contraception or through homosexuality. It's all contraception. It's all death. And that's who he points. And we're like, well, okay, well, maybe again, this is another appointment that was already in place before he became Pope. Maybe he can't overrule it, even though he's Pope. Maybe he can't overrule it. Maybe I don't know, right? So now we're up to 4 things. And then the 5th thing, he appoints this guy, this Grogilo guy is the bishop of St. Gallen. And this guy, he again, he's another skittle. This bishop is a skittle. And he openly advocates for homosexuality, gay marriage, again, contraception, women's ordination. Again, more of the same type of people that Francis appointed. That's 5 things that are just like in a week or so, just really, really, really Pope Francis like. And his brother seems to have been telling the truth that he is Francis 2.0. Okay, so I see where Anthony Stein is going. I see the case that he's making. I understand why he's angry. But chat, my thing is this. Tell me if I'm wrong, chat. My thing is that, are we really doing this again? We're going to spend another 10 years doing this whole grift of YouTubers making money off of grievance. YouTubers and LifeSite News and everyone just raising money and filling up their Patreon memberships off of just driving people away from the faith and making people angry and not really encouraging people just to live out their baptismal call. We're really doing the papal grievance thing again after Francis? Is that what we're doing? I mean, let me know if I'm wrong, chat, but it doesn't seem like that whole thing had worked out well. All right. It just didn't move the needle. After 10 years of the whole grievance genre against Francis, the genre of defending the Pope, the grift either way, it didn't seem to move the needle of evangelizing people, bringing people into the church, encouraging people to live off their baptismal call of holiness. And I'll be honest with you, chat. I can live a life where I don't know who the Pope is. I can actually live that life. Let me know if you can, chat. But I can actually live a life where I don't know who the Pope is. Because who the Pope is doesn't even matter. What the Pope says doesn't even matter. As far as my baptismal call, to live our life of sanctification, to live according to what the church teaches. Because we know if we live our life as a faithful Catholic, we know the end result is heaven and sainthood. We know that. And who the Pope is, what the Pope says, what the Pope doesn't say, doesn't matter. I could live in a world where I don't know who's Pope and it doesn't matter. But is this what we're doing again? And it's just amazing to me that people don't recognize this whole thing for what it is. This whole thing that Anthony Stein is doing and what others are doing. These are men bitching and complaining, which is the most unmasculine thing that you can do. The most unmasculine thing that you could do, the most effeminate thing you could do as a man is bitch and complain. No, as men, we're fixers. We're solution people. A man is a person who looks at his lawn and sees the grass is growing and he says, man, the grass is getting long. And then what a man does is that he goes cut the grass, or he pays somebody to cut the grass. That's what a man does. He's a solution person. Ask any woman. What they hate, women tend to hate about men is that we have all these solutions, right? Because we're solution driven. We're goal driven. We're outcome driven. But you're running a YouTube channel and all you're doing is bitching and complaining about things that you can't fix. That's really effeminate to me. That's not very masculine to me. But that's what this whole thing is. This is what we did for 10 years. Men bitching and complaining. And this is why you go to their YouTube, you go to their chat, you go to the comments. men don't tend to follow guys like this. Their subscribers are really usually just a bunch of women, or they're usually a bunch of effeminate men who also just like sitting around and complaining and bitching. Am I being too honest, chat? Am I being too honest? Maybe somebody needs to be honest with people like Anthony Stein. This is bitch behavior, bitching and complaining. Let's be honest about that. I don't know if we want to spend another 10 years bitching and complaining. All right. Let's bring Michael Madden. All right. Let's bring Michael Madden. Now let's bring Taylor Marshall in first and see what he has to say about this bitching and complaining.
Any conservative cardinals speak out on this yet, so I'm staying optimistic. Only concern is how much time will be allowed to pass and how much damage will be done until action taken by Rome. It's a very good question. I have seen Archbishop Corleone for San Francisco speaking out about this. So we'll see. I think probably what's going to happen is all eyes are on.
So a lot of people are upset about what's going on in, I don't know, where is it, like South Carolina, North Carolina. There was some sort of bishop there who came down with some restrictions against the traditional Latin Mass in his diocese that go far beyond the motu proprio and the restrictions that Francis put on the Mass. And this guy this bishop seems really, he has traditional Latin Mass derangement syndrome. He has TLMDS, traditional Latin Mass derangement syndrome. And this guy wants to rip out altar rails, no Norvis Ordo, no kneeling and receiving on the tongue. He wants to discourage that. He just has some, he's it sounds kind of evil, kind of demonic, right? So a lot of people are upset about that. And, Taylor Marshall is here talking about, and people are wondering, is Leo XIV going to jump into this whole thing?
On Rome. And again, I'm telling you, Pope Leo knows about this. All eyes are on Rome. What is Pope Leo going to do about it? I don't see how Pope Leo waits 12 months to address this.
So the expectation is that Leo is not on board with this. Some people think that this bishop from North Carolina, as RT says, thanks for that, Marty, is going to jump in, or think that this bishop is kind of like pushing the envelope to make Leo XIV choose a side. This is sort of like a test case for the Supreme Court, trying to make the Supreme Court act on this. And so their expectation is from people like, Taylor Marshall and others, is that Leo has to do something. I don't believe that. I think there's a world where he does nothing. If he is Francis 2.0, he does nothing. Right? And he lets the bishop run his diocese as a bishop wants to run his diocese.
All right. It's escalating. It's a problem. Already, there are many dioceses in America that are 20 have gone bankrupt in the last 10 years. They're struggling financially. They're losing funding, and they're turning to lay people to help fill in those gaps. And, if this keeps happening, it makes it hard for the people who are truly devoted and completely on board with the Catholic Church and the Catholic faith to be trusting and to open their wallets, right? They need to see that their agenda, their personal preferences, draconian rules are going to make people nervous and scared, right? And donations will dry up. 1985 Joe says, Dr. Marshall, what advice would you give for talking with well-meaning Novus Ordo Catholics who are conservative but don't really understand why traditional Catholics feel so hurt by this? Yeah, I just think about it like this. Wherever your parish is, you probably have a certain understanding and attachment to how Mass is said. And then let's just say that someone came in and said, we're not doing it that way anymore, and put the icing on the cake, it's bad. And you're going to say to yourself, well, I've been going to this church for 15 years and praying and going to Mass here. You're saying that you're taking away and what we've done is bad. How would you feel? That's how they feel. That's how we feel. And that's also how people felt in 1970 when they changed it. MPC says, what's up with Return to Tradition? This guy's so negative. His newest video.
So this last one, chat says, hey, what's up with Anthony Stein over Reason and Theology? Why is this guy so angry and negative? I think that's what we all want to know. Why is Anthony Stein so angry about grifting and making a few bucks on YouTube and his Patreon account by this anti-papacy grift? Why is he so angry? He's cleaning up. Dr. Anthony Stein, the angry man.
MPC says, what's up with Return to Tradition? This guy's so negative. His newest video is Pope Leo appoints ultra heretic. Is he overly negative or spot on? I don't know. I haven't seen the video. He's definitely made videos that I have found helpful. So I'll have to check that one out. Not sure. Burns says, felt futures are booming on this news. I know.
Yeah. I think that's the question a lot of people are asking. Francis is dead. Lord have mercy on his soul, for repose of his soul. We really don't know where he's at. Heaven, hell, purgatory. We really don't know. Right. But the point is that he's no longer the Pope. That papacy is over. Yet there's these YouTube guys I hear, chat, that it's like nothing's ever happened. Michael Lofton went from defending Francis to now defending Leo XIV. Anthony Stein went from attacking Francis to attacking Leo. LifeSite News went from attacking to attack. It's like nothing. It's like, chat, why? I mean, why is this? Like, why do we have to live in this world where this happens? Why can't people be people of like goodwill? Why can't people just be concerned about our personal holiness and the holiness of our family? Why do we have to flood the space? Oftentimes with people who are even not Catholic listening to this, and they have to hear Catholics just bitching and complaining about their Pope. Why do we have to live in this type of world? This is I don't think this really reflects the common good of all. I don't. Now, Anthony Stein, he would retort like I think he did in that video, saying, well, we have a duty and a call according to this saint or something like that, that we have to defend it. It's kind of like I would go back to apologetics again. I think people who think apologetics is useful will say that, well, according to scripture, we have to give a reason, hope of our faith, and we have to be prepared to do that, to defend our faith. But that's not how that looks in scripture. It's not. Giving people the reason for your hope and faith, it looks like what Peter did after Pentecost. It looks like what Stephen did before the Sanhedrin. It looks like what Paul did. It's not making arguments about why Jesus had brothers or not. That's not defending your faith. You defend your faith by living a holy life. Your life is your best witness of your faith. People should look at you and just see something different and peculiar. And they shouldn't really see a person just bitching and complaining. I don't think so. I don't. Whatever Anthony Stein is talking about, what saint or something said we should defend our faith and proclaim the truth. I don't think either Stein understands what a person was saying or that person really didn't get it. We have to be holy, live our lives in that way. It's not about attacking the Pope. I don't think so. Let me know if I'm wrong, chat. Let's get to Michael Matt, though. I think Michael Matt has interesting perspective on this whole thing.
The men who were talking to Cardinal Prevost during the conclave, they were having dinner together, these guys, right? In the run up to the conclave. So are you absolutely positive that despite his synodality, despite his little appointments, most of which were already in the pipeline so far, we have to wait and see who he makes Secretary of State before we make a whole lot out of these appointments, right? The big ones are the ones right there in Rome, in the Vatican. But are we absolutely sure that Cardinal Prevost wants to prolong that reign of confusion that Cardinal Go was just talking about? Or does he have something else in mind? What if there was a quid pro quo? What if the conservatives actually made some sort of a deal, which is more than just likely? I think it's probable.
So Michael Matt has been watching the movie Conclave. So he thinks, sir, maybe there's a deal struck during the conclave between the conservatives and whoever to get Prevost elected. Now, maybe it's sort of like what happens in Congress. I think Michael Matt is looking at this like really political. Like maybe this is what happens in Congress kind of really recently with Trump's big, beautiful bill, where the people, the senators or representatives from New York were dead set on the SALT state tax or whatever they call it being raised. I think to 40,000 or something like that. And Trump was like, no. Eventually, they did get the SALT whatever into the bill. A deal was struck to get the whole thing passed by one vote. Fine. And so Michael Matt is looking at the conclave like that. Like maybe there was a deal with Prevost. Maybe this is why he met with Burke that said, okay, we're going to find the votes to elect you, but you're going to have to do something about the motu proprio. You're going to have to fix whatever. And if you promise to fix whatever, we'll push you through. That's the way Michael Matt is looking at the conclave. Okay.
Given how outnumbered they were, so they made some sort of a deal. And one of the conditions for that deal was voting for a cardinal who was going to roll back Traditionis Custodes and lift the restrictions on the Latin Mass. What if that happened? Because that's key. There are a lot of people who are not even Latin Mass goers. They understand that the Latin Mass goes back to the heart of the church. It changes everything. It changed history the last time around. So even if you don't go to the Latin Mass, this is a massive, massive thing. How you pray is how you believe. Put that back in the heart of the church. Watch it grow. Watch it change everything, even if you don't have access to it. You see? So if that happened, if there was a quid pro quo with Leo, an American who understands social media very well, so he's watching. What if he's watching right now? What if he looks out over the stratosphere and he sees some of us behaving like zombies in Night of the Living Dead? You know, Leo is evil. Leo is a heretic.
Yeah, in chat, I see you guys are saying, I think Diana said and Artie said in chat, yeah, it could happen. I mean, it happened in the movie Conclave. It happened when Pope Pius IX was elected. For sure, I've studied that a lot. It happened, I think, with Francis. People, there's a political aspect to the conclave, to be sure. People do strike deals. It's possible. But the idea of a quid pro quo, it's possible, I suppose. All right, it would be disappointing. But these guys know each other better than we know them, so you never know. So
Leo is a Freemason. I mean, what if he sees that? What if that's the face of tradition? That his brother cardinals were saying, you need to be good to these people. These are good people. You gotta do something for them, right? They're in the heart of the church.
In chat, if it is true, I mean, we'll see. I mean, but what we see so far, I mean, with the appointment so far with the woman in the Curia, with the appointment to the guide at the Pontifical Life Academy, the appointment to the Skittle Bishop in St. Gallen. I mean, it was also a part of the quid pro quo. Hey, you have to appoint the people who Francis already said he was going to appoint. All right. I mean, is this like Congress where the liberals get everything and the conservatives get just a little bit? Maybe is this like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich where the jelly is thin, the peanut butter is thick? All right. Why can't it be spread evenly? Why can't we have both? Why do conservatives always have to lose? Right? They Liberals always get more than conservatives. It's possible, chat. It's possible. We'll see. It just doesn't look like it so far. All right. Or it doesn't look like the conservatives at least asked for much so far. We'll see.
Church, and he sees a pack of zombies are screaming and yelling and doing this at him, and saying that anybody who doesn't go to the Latin Mass is a heretic outside the church. Well, why in the world would the Pope even think about trying to accommodate us? You see?
Like, this is crazy. Marmar said, put some mayonnaise on a peanut butter. Who does that? You put mayonnaise? I've heard of butter, like peanut butter, no jelly and peanut butter. You said mayonnaise on a peanut butter? What part of this country do they? I've never heard that. What part of the country do they do that? I've never heard of that. That's wild, Marmar. That's wild.
So I would say, in all due respect, can we just cool it? Can we just cool it for a few months? Can we just take a breath? There's no hurry. If he is the devil incarnate, if he is Francis 2.0, the whole world's going to see it. All of our viewers, you will see it. Everybody will see it. We'll know. But wouldn't it be smart and fun and interesting and strategic to just wait a little bit? There's plenty of time for us to initiate Operation Lambast Leo. If Leo comes out and with, Traditionis Custodes 2.0 or whatever, But for now, let's just take a break. Let's just breathe. Again, it worked with Cardinal Ratzinger. Let's see if it might work with Cardinal Prevost, right? We really seriously have nothing to lose, friends. And that's all we've been doing. We're not trying to look at this with rose-colored glasses. We know where we stand. 60 years after Vatican II, where do you think you're going to find these, some lion churchman who's going to come out there like a Cardinal Ottaviani and start knocking heads together and restore everything that we want restored? No, it's going to take time. A lot.
Yeah, so that's Michael Matt. I tend not to like Michael Matt or his Catholic Identity Conference. Not into anything that he's doing, but I like his perspective there. I do. I mean, what did we have to lose? I would like him to keep that same energy for as long as Leo XIV is Pope. I would go even further. I'm not saying what do we have to lose. I would say it just doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. A Pope can never contradict the faith as a matter of dogma, or he's not the Pope. He can never change what is dogmatically true. So it doesn't matter ultimately concerning our baptismal call to be holy, to live out our life as faithful Catholics. So I would just like the whole genre of bitching and complaining about the Pope to go away. I would like everybody just to go back to just shut up and dribble. Whatever that you do well, whether it's apologetics, waste of time, evangelization, theology, exegesis, whatever you do well, like go do that. And let's just get away from the Catholic bitching and complaining genre. Just altogether. Let's just get out of the business of attacking the Pope and feeling like we have to defend the Pope. And let's just let whatever's true be true. And just get back to living your life, protecting your family, praying with your family, taking the liturgy out of the Mass and into the world, orienting the world to be a type of Mass, meaning to let's all process towards Calvary together. And let's inspire each other to do that. Now, let's be in the world who we have eaten in the Mass. I mean, let's just get back to basics. And I just don't think we're just whatever money we're making, whatever the grift is, whatever fame or fortune comes from the grift of attacking the Pope or defending the Pope, just stop. Just stop. And let's just get back to the basics of the faith. And for that, I think that's the common good for all. And I think that would be good for the internet space. I think that'd be good for the church. And I think it'd be just good for your soul, So, yeah. And Diane says, yeah, I would like to get back to funny. I want to get back to funny. I want to start rebooting some Father Hell. I have a lot of Father Hell No scripts done. Just haven't had really. the time, I guess, to do it. Maybe I'll do some while I'm in DC. Maybe I'll record some of those scripts. I got some real funny ones ready to go. Marmar says, "Are you still in Germany?" I am. I'll be here for quite a while. So, all right, chat. Let me get to the chat. Let me hit some of these comments I haven't seen, and then we'll go out here. Let me know your thoughts. This is David O'Gray. Yeah. Like I said, I can't wait to be in DC. I see that the weather is nice. Just really just hoping not to get shot or robbed. That's pretty much the only thing. Yankee Girl says it's only on YouTube. And let me turn off something here. Where's that at? Oh, there it is. All right. Our Yankee Girl says it's only on YouTube and X.com Catholics got hate Berlioz. Normies loved him. I think that's true. Everywhere in the world, people seem to like Pope Francis, and it just kind of always shocked me by how much love people had for him. Right? But I think the media had a lot to do with that. Carolyn said, no, he got rid of the homo-loving head of the institute. Yeah, he put one Skittle out and put another type of Skittle in. So Artie says, well, you Montanize too. I mean, let's keep it real though. let's get real. Yeah, I have YouTube ads on, but I really don't. It doesn't really generate revenue, honestly. So, and I'm not really a YouTuber, right? This is not what I do. So, but I mean, there was a time in my life though when I was like really political, had more like a political content. Yeah, I did make a lot of money off of YouTube. I did. Then I started talking to you Catholics, right? And I really haven't made much money off of it, but it's cool. Not here for the money. Just here for the laughs. Seti Picante, who has a really funny channel. I think Seti Picante is a Seti Picantis. I think at least kind of like the content he makes, but it's funny. It is funny. I will say that. So as long as the middle position is this, yes, either be a Seti or a Vatican II Catholic. These trads are bonkers. Seti is funny because his channel is funny because he usually goes after like the rad trad types, because I think his position is that they're kind of on the fence. They want to be Seti Vacantis, but they just don't want to. He's basically said if they're faking it, he makes fun of them. So his content is funny. He is. He's the happiest Seti Vacantis I've ever encountered. They're usually all angry and bitter about something that their mom did. So they all seem to have these mommy wounds, like they weren't loved enough by their mom. That's how Seti Vacantis kind of strike me. Like mom didn't hug them enough. But this guy, he's pretty funny. Check out his content. Susan says, we have no news except spun news. Don't get spun. Keep the faith. Stay hopeful. Love everyone. Oh, and that includes the Pope. Let God do the judging. Yeah, and that's another thing. That's a great point, Susan. Like, why bitch and complain all the time about the Pope? Well, the fact that it matters that the Pope is going to have his own judgment day. We're going to have our own judgment day. The judgment days won't occur together at the same time. So let people be responsible for their own judgment day. Let's just pray for one another. All right? And encourage one another. And if you are in a position, I think, to admonish the Pope in person, go for it. Go for it. If you have opportunity to sit down and have a private meeting with Pope Leo the 14th, and you want to like give him the business about whatever, give it to him. I'm all for that. All right. But yeah, the bishop complaining about YouTube, I just think that's kind of effeminate. It's kind of weak and powerless, and I don't think it's really efficacious for anyone. Yeah. Bob says I haven't heard anything that Leo has said that's like Francis. Yeah, so far we just have actions. Other than I would say Pope Francis would have said something like such and such is in heaven without any verifiable data, without a canonization process. So I think Francis would have said that. That's for sure. Caroline Kimberly is talking about that bishop over in North Carolina. Saying Bishop Martin hates everything Catholic, just like Francis. What was amazing to me how someone like him can get appointed as bishop. And this would have been another appointment that maybe Prevost wasn't necessarily responsible for, maybe didn't even have a direct hand in, but ultimately plays a role in in his former position as in the dicastery for bishops. So, but it's phenomenal to me, really, that a guy like this becomes bishop, because people knew who he was. He didn't just hide this stuff until he didn't just submarine until he became bishop. Someone knew his thoughts. People who made decisions research these guys, and they know who they're appointing. And he's appointed. Yet, I mean, he's a perfect type of Francis bishop, really. So, Mama, I love my comment. There was a world where Leo XIV does nothing about the situation in North Carolina. Yeah. I still expect Leo XIV to move quiet and slow. I still expect that. I still think ultimately he's going to be a quiet pope and a slow moving pope. And if I'm right about that, and I'm oftentimes wrong about things like this, I'll just say that. I'm not even going to lie to you. I'm usually wrong about stuff like this. But if I'm right about this one, then we can expect him to do nothing about that bad bishop. So, Senator Vacanti says, does Taylor Marshall get a new book out of this Charlotte affair? I'm not even going to comment on that one. I have so many funny things to say, but I'll be nice today. Carolyn Kim would say, Anthony is extremely disappointed. He thought Leo would be traditional. I don't know. Remember in that video I just played? Remember he had said that as soon as Leo came out on the loggia, he had a bad feeling. Like, Mom, this is a bad man. This is a bad man, Mom. That's what he said. So I disagree. He thought Leo would be traditional. Because he said, as soon as he came out on the loggia, he said this is going to be a bad man. So. yeah, you know. I wish I didn't. I'll say that. Marmar says Lofton, he's so sweet. I like Michael Lofton as a person. I do. I've had private conversations with him. He's been on my show, interviewed him. I like him as a person. Yeah. I don't like his ministry or whatever that is that he's doing right now. It's weird. But it's his job though. He's a YouTuber. Like that's his like legitimate job. This is what he does. He's not employed anywhere else. He's a YouTuber. So as a YouTuber, this is your business. This is your business here in between, this screen here. I think if this is how you're feeding your family, putting clothes in their back, feeding yourself, and he's not a skinny guy. Let's be honest about this. Michael Lofton looks like he eats really well. He does. He has like he's missing any meals. So if this is how you're feeding yourself and your family, you have to make content that's gonna make money and get you Patreon subscribers. You have to pay bills. So, and Michael Lofton, I think, is a very successful businessman. He's found something on YouTube that he can do that can make money. And he's very good at it. Even if I tried to make this my business, I would not be as successful as Michael Lofton. Because I'm never going to say what people want to hear all the time. And I think he's found a cult and a segment in a market that he can keep telling them what they want to hear and they'll buy it. And that's business. That's how business is run successfully. And I can never do that on YouTube. So kudos to him for figuring that whole thing out. And every person who makes YouTube their business, kudos to them for figuring out how to do the same thing over and over and over again, rinse and repeat, kick horses, beat horses dead, whatever that metaphor is. Congratulations to them. So Dan says, get yourself and your family to a good traditional mass or Novus Ordo priest, ordinary form priest and parish. Yeah. And pray for your priest and be joyful. That's good advice. Seti says he also covers Michael. Man, Michael Matt is the worst. He's bad. But again, I think he's a successful businessman, right? I think he's, the remnant in this space right here is his business plan. And I think he's pretty successful at saying the same thing over and over and over again. So in different ways. So I think that's pretty cool. But Artie says Michael Matt is so much better than Anthony Stein. Yeah, I just think the quality of the video is a lot better than Anthony Stein. But kudos to Anthony Stein, again, a phenomenal businessman who doesn't have anything fancy, has a horrible opening screen and sounds, horrible lighting, doesn't groom himself whatsoever, and gets on video and reads the news and has thousands of subscribers. His videos are watched by thousands of people. Yeah, Michael Matt has a videographer. He has a staff. He has a script that is written. He has a wonderful studio. He has great transitions. He has a professional person who edits his video. Michael Matt spends a lot of money on his production. Yet Anthony Stein spends nothing. Not even like on a hairbrush to groom himself just a little bit before he gets on the camera. And he's making a killing over there. He's making a killing. So Michael Matt has better production quality than Anthony Stein, but Anthony Stein is pulling in the same numbers as Michael Matt, and he's doing nothing. Right? I mean, say what you want to about Anthony Stein. His content, I think, is trash. But again, he's found a niche market that he can make angry with him. And let's be honest about this. You're we got like 55 votes about have you already written off Leo as Francis 2.0. 80% of you guys are saying like no. That's phenomenal. That's good news. I like to hear that. But one thing I like to say about people, let me go back to Anthony Stein for just a moment here, right? When we talk about people like him, one thing I always tell people in content creators, one thing I always say is that your comment section is a reflection of you. Whatever you're doing, whatever you're putting out is a reflection of you. And I say this all the time about, I talk, my friends about people like I don't know who's that one guy. I don't know, people like Mark Dice or the other guy who said, "Oh yeah, I'm not a racist. I just say racist thing." I said, okay, maybe you're not a racist, right? And I get that. Maybe you just have preferences and you just angry about some things. Okay, fine, I get that. But if you go to your comment section and all I see in there is like ignorance, okay, well, if you're feeding racism, and I can see that in your comment section, then yeah, what does that mean that you are, right? So I think your comment section is a reflection of who you are. I mean, so let's take a look at Anthony Stein's comment section, and let's just see what type of monsters that he's feeding. It's kind of like it's kind of like you say your family, right? I mean, you coming home, you're cooking dinner or whatever. You're a cook, and your family just your kids, your wife and kids, everybody just constantly gaining weight. That may be a reflection of what you're cooking. Maybe you want to let go of the steak and potatoes, have some vegetables. Or if it's what you're putting out there just as a human person. If your circle of friends, if they're always saying nasty things and nasty comments and a bunch of negativity, if that's your family, just a bunch of negative vibes, maybe that's something you're putting out. Maybe it's something you're feeding. It's the same way with your YouTube business. So we look at Anthony Stein here, and we look at his comments. What is it saying about his content? Right? Is it a bunch of negativity? Is a bunch of people calling Leo XIV a heretic? There's a bunch of negativity and just nasty stuff. No. Your comment section is a reflection of what you're putting out there in the world, right? So I think it's something for like people who are like real YouTubers. This is their business. I think if you want to know how you're doing, how you're affecting the world, whether you're really doing the work of Christ or just the work of the ego, take a look at your comment section and see what you're feeding people and see what they're regurgitating back off of your content and see if you're harming people. Because I think that's a good measure. Are you harming people? If your content is producing comments where it looks like, man, these people are hurt by what I'm saying and they're projecting that out. And they're issuing sin, and they're projecting sin through their words, then maybe I should change my content, right? So that's always a good measure, I think. So Marmar says, I saw Conclave in the theater here. It was visually entertaining, period. No factual historical background. Yeah, I really like the movie Conclave a lot. I mean, it was one of my favorite movies until the last 5 minutes. And then it lost me. And I was like, why did that have to be the ending? So I thought it was great. And that's the new Conclave, not the old one. I think there's another one before the one with the weird stuff at the end. So Seti says Michael Matt lives in their own world. It's rather entertaining. And Friends and Michael Matt was literally screaming at Francis at a CIC conference. Yeah. You couldn't catch me at the Catholic Identity Conference. That place is weird to me. I thought you'd be discussing the dancing diaper chickens in Paderborn Cathedral, Germany. It's funny. I don't know what's going on here in Germany until I look at like American YouTubers. It's just kind of strange. I didn't even bring that up when I was in Czech in Prague over the weekend. You know, Prague is the least Catholic country in Europe. I think it's like 10% Catholic. 10%. And with the mass there, I couldn't tell. It looked like everywhere else in Europe, just decent Northern Ordo, nothing crazy, right? But you come on YouTube and you always see these crazy things about Germany. Like it's yeah. Rosa, you need a blue comb. That's funny. You guys are cracking me up. Chat, you guys are cracking me up in the comment section. These remind me of my old Mass Nightmare days. You guys are cracking me up in the comment section. The comment section. He has a bunch of angry, unsettled people in his comment section. Yeah, I mean that's for real. I think Anthony Stein has one of the most. I think there's people with worse comment sections. I mean, you go over to like Avoiding Babylon, Dr. Taylor Marshall, Michael Matt. I mean, then you're getting really into some really deranged people, right? that's living in their own world, I think. Avery says, at one point is someone responsible for their own comment section. I don't believe people are totally exonerated from what their fans say. Maybe initially, but after a while, you do have to acknowledge the scandal you're causing. Yeah, that's I think the exact point. I mean, you do get like some one-offs every now and then about your comment section, right? You can't control everything there. But at some point in time, if you keep generating the same type of people and just nasty stuff, you have to own that and you have to take responsibility and accountability for that. But you won't, because if you were to change, I mean, you won't make the money. I mean, there's more money in the world off of making people angry than there is in promoting the common good. And the fact of the matter is that people just want to make the money. Michael Walsh is another person. I mean, he'll swear up and down, he's not this or not that. But when I go to your comment section, I see exactly who you are. That's exactly who you are. And it's not Catholic. No person can call themselves Catholic and produce content that just stirs up hate and division and anger. You just can't call yourself Catholic and produce content that does that. I mean, I could be wrong, chat, but that's what I think. I think Avery, I think you and I are on the same page about that. And I say certain parts of Germany are very Catholic. I think so. I think the small towns like the one I live in, where like half of the town comes out for the Feast of Corpus Christi and parades around every day. They're like, every weekend, rather, they're like knocking on doors to give something out about the faith. And of course, get a donation, but they always have something to give you. I think it's very Catholic in the small towns. This is when you get to the cities, you get to the Munchen, you get to the Berlin, Frankfurt, places like that. It does get a little weird, I would say. So Diane says, we need Father Hell No. I'm going to give him to you, Diane. I'm going to give you Father Hell No. Since you keep asking for him, I'll make sure I record some content next couple weeks. Bring back the old man. All right. All right, guys. Peace out. I'll see you live in a couple weeks after Father's Day. I think that's June 16th. I'll see you live again there, hopefully, God willing. But I have some recorded content over the next couple weeks. But until then, and until next time, peace and blessings, love and hair grease, and keep it holy.